And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And as promised, the third hour of our program today, instead of the first hour, is going to be Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders, the guy I think of as America's senator, although the good citizens of Vermont, I was one for a decade, know that he's their senator, and they're very pleased about it. On the line with us, Bernie will be taking your calls on the topic of your choice in just a few minutes. But first, Senator Sanders, happy holidays.
Good. Happy holidays to you and to all of the listeners. Sorry I couldn't be with you at 3 o'clock, but I absolutely wanted to get out of Washington, D.C., and I'm in the airport in Burlington, Vermont now, and nice to be with you.
Yeah, said like a man who sounds like he really did want to get
I really want to get out of Washington, D.C.
Do you have a vote at 4 o'clock this morning? Do I have that right?
No, the way the world works in the U.S. Senate is we thought we were going to have votes at 11 o'clock and then at 4 o'clock in the morning, but somewhere before then some agreement was reached, and we did a couple of votes last night late, and then we did 4 votes this morning at 10ish.
Okay. Well, it's a little more civil anyway. So you've got a lot on your plate right now.
There's a lot that is going on, and I do want to start off with what these votes and all this stuff is about. As I think many listeners will remember, last month Harry Reid and the Democratic caucus, of which I'm a part as an independent, made a decision that they weren't going to tolerate the kind of Republican obstructionism that we've been seeing year after year after year. And what we focused on right now, at least, is dealing with presidential nominations for the executive branch and for the judiciary. And the Republicans have made it virtually impossible for the president to put together his team in just a way that has never been done before. So we finally changed the rules and said, sorry, if you guys are going to obstruct, you're not going to have 60. It will not require 60 votes to pass these nominations. We'll do it with 51 votes, and we've been kind of moving very quickly on a whole bunch of nominations, including the D.C. Court of Appeals, which is the second most important court in the country. So Republicans continue to fight back, but that's why I was on the floor last night at 11 o'clock voting on these issues, and why we feared we'd have to be on the floor at 4:30 in the morning, but it turned out that wasn't the case. So we are making some progress, but the bigger issue is whether we, in the face of this never-ending obstructionism, whether we move to majority vote for legislation, and that is my view. I think we should. Not everybody agrees with me. But I think when you have the Republicans filibustering and demanding 60 votes on everything, we just had a non-controversial bill that was my bill that came from the Veterans Committee, of which I chair, supported in a bipartisan way, came out of the committee unanimously, supported by the veterans organization, supported by everybody. One guy got up and objected, and I couldn't get that bill passed. We will eventually, but it just slowed it up. Slow it up for weeks and weeks and weeks. So, the question is, given the reality that the Republicans have essentially changed the way the Senate does business, should we move to 51 votes for legislation? I think we should, but we'll see what happens on that. In any case, Tom, some of the major issues out there, I think as many listeners know, is this whole business with the NSA. We had a very good ruling from a judge, Richard Leon, this week, basically saying what many of us have been saying, that this massive collection of data, especially phone calls made by almost every American, the NSA now keeps tabs on who you called, when you called, where you called from. The NSA getting into people's emails, getting into people's knowing the websites that people are visiting, tapping the phones of foreign leaders. This is, to my mind, an agency absolutely out of control, and we need some very strong legislation to rein them in. So I think we had good news from the district court judge. We had good news, in a sense, some good news from the president's own advisory committee, who he asked to comment on that, and also made some reforms. Don't go as far as I would, but it's a step forward. So I think we're gaining a little bit of momentum in understanding that, yes, terrorism is a serious issue. Yes, we have got to protect the American people, but we have got to do that in a way that is constitutional and protects the civil liberties and the privacy rights of the American people. So that's a big issue that's out there. Second issue out there is just last night, it was this morning, actually, coming to think of it, I voted against the defense budget bill. That's the Department of Defense authorization bill. And I did that for a number of reasons. The bill is very, very large. It's about $625 billion. That is the largest single budget of the United States government. And it turns out that we are spending almost as much as the rest of the world combined in terms of defense. And at a time when we have millions of people unemployed and underemployed, we have 40-some-odd million people have no health insurance, kids can't afford to go to college. Some of my Republican colleagues want to cut food stamps, they want to cut long-term unemployment benefits, et cetera, et cetera. I think we should not be spending that much money on defense. I think also there's no question that there's just an enormous amount of waste. There's fraud. Virtually every major defense contractor has been found guilty of fraud or has had reached some kind of settlement with the Department of Defense. So I think we can maintain a very, very strong defense, which I certainly support, but do it in a way that is not quite as expensive as the current budget. Also, I should point out that some of the money going to the intelligence agencies, including the NSA, is in that budget as well, and I think we might want to look at cutting some funding for the NSA. When we return, I hope very much, and I think that the Democratic leadership are going to be focusing on very important economic issues. At the top of the list, I think, will be the need to raise the minimum wage. Right now, nationally, the minimum wage is about $7.25 an hour, which is, to my mind, a starvation wage. If we raise the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour, which is what the legislation calls for, it will provide a wage increase for about 30 million Americans. And I know some of my Republican friends say, well, all of these people who work for low wages are kids, they're teenagers, and that is absolutely not the case. The overwhelming majority of the people who earn less than $10.10 an hour are adults and people who are really struggling economically. So when we come back, we want to raise the minimum wage. I believe very strongly we need a major jobs bill. Yes, the good news is unemployment is going down, but real unemployment is not the official unemployment rate of 7%. It's real unemployment is somewhere around 13%. Youth unemployment is 20%, and I think that's an issue we have to deal with by creating jobs. And I would argue that the fastest way to do that is to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. That's our roads and our bridges and our wastewater plants and our water plants. I'm sitting in an airport right now. We need good rebuilding a whole lot of airports and improving our air system as well. So there's a lot of work to be done. We can put a lot of people back to work pretty quickly by doing that. Lastly, I would say that one of the interesting developments of the week is that the Department of Education, Arnie Duncan's group, released $280 million for preschool education. And Vermont got a good part of that. We got some $37 million, which is very much needed. But we have got to, as a nation, focus significantly not only on education in general, but on preschool education. It is a disaster from one end of this country to the other. Working families are in desperate need of good quality, affordable child care. I was just talking to a young man who works with me. He has two kids, or one kid in preschool. It's over $10,000 a year. Next year, we'll be paying $12,000.
Wow!
Well, if you're not making a lot of money, most people can't afford $12,000. So we have got to understand is that when we talk about education, we are talking about zero or as well. Kids deserve a good start. We've got to adequately fund preschool education.
There you go. We'll be back with Senator Sanders in just a moment.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Get your questions ready. It's Brunch with Bernie. Bernie will be taking your calls right after this. Check out his website, sanders.senate.gov. Welcome back. Bernie, pick up calls now?
Let's do it.
Okay, Paul in South Lyon, Michigan. You're on the air. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV on the Dish satellite system. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Happy holidays, everyone. The president and the Democrats' policies, including the stimulus, saving GM and Chrysler, cash for clunkers, raising taxes on multimillionaires, etc., have created 8 million jobs and given us a solid economy. The Republicans' shutdowns and spending cuts have destroyed 4 million jobs in the last 4 years and turned that into a weak recovery. I hear some so-called progressives who never give the Democrats credit they deserve or the Republicans the blame they deserve for anything. Don't the Democrats deserve some credit for things like the Dodd-Frank bill and the Volcker rule?
Yes.
That were passed.
Well, you're making a fair point, and let me back it up. And I say this as somebody who has been critical, and I think appropriately so, of the president for not being stronger than he has been. But having said that, it bothers me that people forget where we were 5 years ago. Is the economy today in difficult straits? Of course it is. Everybody knows that. Real unemployment is at 13%. Median family income continues to decline. But let's remember where we were 5 years ago at the end of Bush's reign. We were losing 700,000 jobs a month. Now, we're gaining a couple of 100,000 jobs a month. Is that enough? No. Is gaining 200,000 jobs a month a lot better than losing 700,000 jobs a month? I think most people would think so. So I think, Paul's point is a good point. The stimulus package, it is much maligned, and I think people, for interesting reasons, don't understand its impact. But I can tell you that in a very desperate moment, in 2009, when we were in the midst of that terrible recession, here in Vermont, we created many thousands of jobs. The money was focused exactly where it should have been focused, on infrastructure, on early childhood education, on Head Start, in a number of areas where we really needed help, and that was true all over the country. I think that stimulus package played a much greater role than people appreciate in lifting this country out of that terrible recession. So, my comment to Paul is yes, Obama has done a lot of good things, and certainly we are in much better shape than where we were when he first came in. But having said that, there's a lot more that has to be done.
Yeah. Bernie, we have just about a half a minute, not enough time for a call, but how do you get that done with the Republicans in control of the House?
Well, I'll tell you how. You give them an offer they can't refuse by rallying the American people. And I'll tell you what we've already done, Tom. You may recall that virtually every Republican out there has said, we have got to, quote unquote, do entitlement reform. And I want everybody to understand that when they see on TV somebody talking about entitlement reform, what they're talking about is cutting, rather significantly, Social Security, Medicare, veterans programs. Now, what has happened in the last 6 months, because the American people have stood up, and I've been involved with a lot of grassroots organizations. We provided the leadership with a petition of 700,000 names. Don't cut Social Security. You know what's happening now, Tom? You ain't hearing a whole lot of people talking about cutting Social Security, are you?
You're right. You're absolutely right. That has faded into the background on both sides. Which is,
well, I've stood up on that issue, and that's what we've got to do, issue by issue.
Yeah, that's a great response. Senator Bernie Sanders will be back in just a second, answering your questions here on Brunch with Bernie with Thom Hartmann. Twenty minutes past the hour here at the True People's Media, the Thom Hartmann Program. Welcome back. It's happy hour with Bernie today, I guess. And Donald in Los Angeles, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, hello. Senator Sanders, first off, I want to say thank you very much for pretty much everything you've done. I've been trying to figure out how to get a chance to talk to you since, 2004. It's been a while. At any rate, I had a whole bunch of things I wanted to talk about, and I actually ended up. It was.
If you go on too long, Donald, Tom is going to cut you off.
Yeah, pick one, Donald.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. The big thing that I wanted to talk to you about for so long, the biggest thing I've been trying to talk to somebody who can and is willing to do something about it, is this this false dichotomy that we have, this choice between the Democrats and the Republicans, where people end up voting for what they see as the lesser evil. One side votes for the Republicans because they think they're less evil than the Democrats. The other side votes for the Democrats because they think they're less evil than the Republicans. And nobody's saying they're good, as far as I can see. Nobody out there is really saying they want either one. They're just saying, well, we'd rather have this one than the other. Would you be willing to help the people to learn about the idea of an anti-vote, of the idea of being able to say no directly to someone on the ballot, the way you can when you vote on a bill, for example?
Well, I understand what there. I think some states may have it. They call it none of the above, and that's fine, Donald. But far more important is the need to give people candidates who they can support with pride, who are going to keep their words, who are going to stand up for the middle class and working class of this country. I mean, so that's what I think, and I think. What I would say this right now, the American people are not happy. We're not a happy people. We're not happy with politics. We're not happy with corporate America. We're not happy with Wall Street. We're not happy with the media. People do not see this country working the way they would like to see it work. And I think that's the bad news. But the good news, I think, is that when you explain to people the problems out there and solutions, there is a lot more unity and coming together than one might think. I mentioned Social Security a moment ago. Here's the situation. In Washington now, you have every Republican, you got some Democrats, you had the president, you had all of these right-wing think tanks and billionaires that say, cut Social Security, cut Medicare. And then you go out to the American people, whether they are left-wing progressives or right-wing conservatives. You know what people say? No. Don't cut Social Security in overwhelming numbers. Don't cut Medicare. Don't cut education. And then when people are asked, in Washington, you got our Republican friends who want to give more tax breaks to billionaires, and the people say no. The rich are getting much richer. Corporate America is doing phenomenally well. They have got to be asked to pay their fair share of taxes. So interestingly enough, when you list the issues of protecting the needs of the middle class, creating jobs, asking the wealthy and large corporations to pay their fair share, you know what? There are a lot of people all over this country who say, yeah, that's what we should do. Unfortunately, in Capitol Hill and in the Congress, you don't see too many members who are standing up for those principles because of the power of big money and the lobbyists and campaign contributions. But this country is a lot more unified on basic principles, I think, than most people perceive.
Kiss Kid in Yucca Valley, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Bernie. On this discontinuation, I don't know even if that's a word, of the unemployment. I'm retired, but a friend of mine, he was laid off a couple of months ago. Is this going to go back to 26 weeks? And I'm going to finish off now that it's happy hour. Have you ever heard Tom's recording of Ronald Reagan when he was a Democrat? Okay, you guys, happy holidays. Thanks for all the great work you do.
Thanks. Well, thank you,
Thanks,
and happy
kid.
holidays as well. Here's where we are with this. I voted for the budget agreement because I thought it turned out to be the lesser of two evils. What it will do is prevent another government shutdown, which really is a disaster in a dozen different ways. What it will do is provide, in all likelihood, modest increases in funding for Head Start, for the Meals on Wheels program, for the WIC program, the Women, Infant, and Children's Nutrition program, for affordable housing, for a whole lot of areas which are in desperate need of additional funding. But where I was torn in terms of voting on this bill is that it did not include extending emergency unemployment. And that means that at the end of this year, and it will happen on December 31st, there will be over 1 million people who will not get the unemployment benefits that they had previously been getting. Now, what we have been assured, what the majority leader has said, that as soon, the first week that we return, this bill will be up on the floor. And the reason we should strongly support it is not only because you can't leave 1.3 million families out in the lurch with no income, But also, the truth is, and what the studies indicate, is that if people do not have that money, we're going to lose something like 160,000 to 200,000 jobs because people are not going to have that money to spend in their local communities. GDP will go down by about 0.2%. So it is not only really morally repugnant to pull the plug on 1.3 million workers, it is also bad economics. So I hope very much that we can get that bill passed as soon as we come back and make it retroactive.
We just have 30 seconds, Bernie. Do you think that'll get through the House?
That's a good question, and that gets exactly to the point I mentioned a moment ago, Tom. I think if we rally the American people, we can do it. I know that in the Senate, there's at least one guy, Dean Heller of Nevada, whose state has a very high unemployment rate, who is a co-sponsor of the legislation. And whether or not we can be able to find Republicans in the House remains to be seen. But it is certainly a doable task. It can be done if we put enough pressure on the Republicans.
Time to call your member of Congress. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. Sanders.senate.gov, his website. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. The last hour of the day today, Happy Hour with Bernie. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And be sure to check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. You can sign up for the Bernie Buzz there. It's a great news site.
The Republican promises sounded pretty good in 1946. But what has happened since then? Social Security benefits have been snatched away from almost 1 million workers by the Gearhart Bill. Fair employment practices, which had worked so well during wartime, have been abandoned. Veterans' pleas for low-cost homes have been ignored, and many people are still living in made-over chicken coops and garages. Tax reduction bills have been passed to benefit the higher income brackets alone. The average worker saved only $1.73 a week. In the false name of economy, millions of children have been deprived of milk once provided through the federal school lunch program.
And it goes on. Senator Bernie Sanders was
a familiar voice.
Yeah, that was 1940. That was the 19. What he was campaigning for Truman and Humphrey, so that must have been the election of 48, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, remarkable. Anyhow, it's.
I think what's also remarkable, Tom, is you and I have talked about this. You go back to the campaign that Dwight D. Eisenhower ran in 52,
mm-hmm.
and it was a campaign that no Republican today would even dream of. About the same issues.
Yeah, and when he ran for re-election in 56, his platform was that he had increased Social Security, he had increased unionization.
And by the way, I was on the floor just yesterday in opposition to this bloated defense budget, and I quoted that wonderful speech that Eisenhower gave when he left office about how every dollar spent on the military is a dollar that doesn't go to working people and to children and to human needs.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Back to phone calls?
Let's do it.
Okay, Candace in Salem, West Virginia. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Nice to talk to you. And Tom, I wish you all a happy holiday.
Thank you, Candace.
The thing that I was wanted to ask is how can you continue the future of growth and habitat for humans and wildlife with clean water and air and the impending disease that is going to continue on, and the liability of growth in the economy? I know that's kind of a hard one to ask.
Are you talking about global warming, Candace?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, Candace, I think I do understand your question, and it's a good question, and it's one I think that more and more people are talking about. Generally speaking, we think about our goal in the economy is more and more economic growth. And there are a couple of problems if you look at the economy just through that lens. Number one, you can have a lot of economic growth, but most of the benefits of that growth accrue to a small number of people on top. For example, we've had modest economic growth in the last few years. Not great by any means, but 95% of all new income went to the top 1%. So you can have even significant economic growth. It doesn't mean that the person in the middle, working class people, middle class people, are going to benefit at all. But I think the point of your question is, in a planet now which is dealing with the great crisis of global warming and many other environmental problems, how much more growth and pollution and greenhouse gas emissions can the planet sustain? And that is a very important question that many, many people are now asking. And I think the answer is that instead of looking at just growth as the goal, we have got to look at the human condition. What do we need to provide a better life for people? And that is, people need good education, they need health care, they need a healthy environment, they need secure retirement benefits. And you can do those things without just economic growth. So I think there's a lot of discussion about that, and certainly a lot of discussion about understanding that if we continue global warming at the pace we are going, this planet is going to suffer a disastrous impact in terms of floods and droughts and extreme weather disturbances. So your point is very well taken.
Mark in San Francisco, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I wanted to ask Bernie, what would the steps he would take to address income inequality? What platform would he have? Let's say he was running for president. What platform would you put out there for the American people to see on how you would address this problem?
Very good question, Mark. And I haven't. Let me just talk a little bit off the top of my head, but it is something that actually, I'm working on. Number one, we have to make it very clear that morally and economically, the status quo is unacceptable and has to be dealt with. When you have the top 1% owning 38% of the wealth of America and the bottom 60% owning 2.3%, that just doesn't work. And when you have one family, the Walton family, owning more wealth than the bottom 40%, that doesn't work. So what you need for a start is a fair and progressive tax system. That's number one. Right now we're losing somewhere around $100 billion every year because companies are stashing the money in the Cayman Islands and Bermuda and other tax havens. That has got to end. So we need to raise revenue in a progressive way. That means higher tax rates for upper-income people. It means ending all of these corporate loopholes. It means dealing with this estate tax, which has been riddled with loopholes benefiting the very, very wealthiest of the wealthy. If you are a billionaire and you want to leave, you pass away, your family will pay a tax on that. So I think real tax reform is one area that we have to focus on. Number two, we need a massive jobs program to deal with the very high unemployment rate that we have, especially among young people. The areas that I would focus on are infrastructure, roads, bridges, water systems, wastewater plants, rail system, airports, and so forth and so on. Furthermore, dealing with the last question that Candace asked, in terms of global warming, what we can do right now is make a huge transition from fossil fuels to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. That will require a significant investment. But when you make that investment, not only do you clean up the planet, have America lead the world in helping to transform the world's energy system, but you're going to create a whole lot of jobs doing that. In my state of Vermont, when we invest in energy efficiency and we weatherize a home, people's fuel bills can go down 40, 50, 60%. They're saving money. We're not producing greenhouse gas emissions. We are creating jobs. I would do that on a massive scale. We are wasting huge amounts of energy. People are paying a lot more for fuel than they should. I think we have to be thinking hard about moving toward a much more efficient energy efficient transportation system. We create jobs doing that. I think in terms of education, I can remember 30, 40 years ago, there were great universities out there, University of California, City College in New York, City University in New York, state colleges in Vermont and elsewhere that were virtually tuition-free, and we've receded very significantly from that. So I think we have to rethink the mission of college, but we have to once again make it affordable if we're going to compete in the global economy. I would invest very heavily in preschool education. The idea that working families right now, certainly in Vermont and all over this country, finding it almost impossible to find affordable quality early childhood education for their kids is a disaster. I would invest in that as well. So, off the top of my head, those are some of the areas that I would focus on.
Michelle in Columbus, Ohio. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Here in Ohio, I have a bumper sticker of yours on my car.
Oh, thank you very much, Michelle. And nobody knows what you're talking about when they see that bumper sticker, right?
I think if I get honked at sometimes, and I always hope it's for the best. Real quickly, redefinitions or reform. It seems to me when you're working with the minimum wage or entitlement reform, it seems to me the starting point, the federal poverty level, is set at a point that is absolutely absurd and unlivable to start with. If minimum wage has any correlation with what the federal poverty level numbers are, that seems to me maybe that's a bit of a sticking point of moving forward there. And lastly, entitlement reform. At the very least, instead of cutting Social Security recipients should be getting, at the bare minimum, what is the federal poverty level. I know many people do not receive that.
Good. Michelle, thanks very much for your comment, and thanks for the bumper sticker. And I certainly agree with everything you said. How the federal government computes what the poverty level is inadequate. What we know, Tom, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but a huge number of Americans every single day, every single week, are just struggling at the end of their week when they get their paycheck. They just don't have enough money to adequately take care of their families. And that's living in poverty to my mind. But I think the immediate task is to raise the minimum wage. I would go higher than $10.10 an hour. I know out in the state of Washington, for example, there and in other communities around the country, minimum wage levels are going higher than that. In Washington State, I think there was a town that voted a $15 an hour minimum wage, and that's something that is very good. So we've got to do that. In terms of Social Security, let me just say a few words, and I think I say this almost every week. Social Security is probably the most successful federal program in the modern history of America. It has gone a very long way to eliminate poverty among seniors, to help people with disabilities, to help widows and widowers with kids. And the reason that my Republican colleagues want to destroy Social Security is precisely because it has been successful. And it shows that when you have sensible government programs, they can make a difference. Maybe we'll pick this up after the
You're
break.
listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
It's Brunch with Bernie, or Happy Hour with Bernie, here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Sanders.senate.gov is Bernie's website. Be sure to check it out. So, Senator, you want to finish that thought?
The other point that Michelle makes is that instead of talking about how we should cut Social Security, we should talk about how we should increase it, and that's something I've been working on for years. And I'll tell you one very simple way you do it, and that is right now how we determine what a cost of living adjustment, a COLA, is to my mind faulty in terms of the needs and purchasing practices of seniors. We underestimate how much seniors are spending. Seniors, by and large, are not buying laptop computers or iPhones. What they're buying are prescription drugs, health care. In cold states like Vermont, they're trying to heat themselves. And what they are spending their money on is going up a lot faster than general inflation. So we have legislation in that would create a separate index in terms of how you calculate the cost of living for seniors, which would mean an increase in Social Security.
Okay. Peter in Voorheesville, New York, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, thank you. My question is taxation our best democratic weapon against greed? What I see right now is a cut in the government's money or job, as well as the American worker's job, and that's a recipe for disaster. And I see taxation as both Democrat and Republican. It promotes the common good by helping people, by funding food stamps, extension of unemployment insurance, and Medicare. By preserving trust in government institutions and New Deal programs, to sum it up, I want Roosevelt policies again. I'm tired of Hoover economics promoted by some Democrats and all Republicans. And Roosevelt proved a job is the best welfare. If you don't want to fund welfare, stop sending the jobs overseas. Thank you very much, Senator Sanders.
Well, Peter, thank you for your, I think, your appropriate statement. I agree with you. And, I had the pleasure a few years ago of being in the Oval Office not long after President Obama was elected, and that's kind of what I said to him. I said, given the crises that we face right now, the American people need to understand the role that Wall Street and big money have played in destroying our economy, and they need some strong programs to create the millions and millions of jobs that have to be created. I think President Obama has not chosen that path. But I do think that what we need is a series of programs to put our people back to work. I believe that we need, as I mentioned a moment ago, real tax reform, which says to the people on top whose incomes, the top 1%, whose incomes are growing phenomenally in recent years, and this is the disgrace of our economy. In recent years, we've had a huge increase in the number of millionaires and billionaires, while at the same time today we have more people living in poverty than at any time in the history of America, and our childhood poverty rate is the highest in the industrialized world. That just is wrong and cannot be allowed to continue. So I think Peter's point is, what taxation is about is the dues you pay living in a civilized society. And you know what? People who are making hundreds of millions of dollars and making billions of dollars, 1 out of 4 corporations that are paying nothing in federal income taxes, guess what? They have got to ante up. They're part of America. They have to help us create the kind of country we know that we can become. So I think Peter's point is well stated.
It's Senator Bernie Sanders here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be back with more of your calls for Bernie right after this. Check out his website at sanders.senate.gov. And when we come back in just a second from this break, I'll be doing my Friday afternoon thank yous. We always do these at the very last break at the last day of the week. Right after the thank yous, more Bernie's calls. Hey, thanks so much to our show director, Louise Hartman, to my executive producer, Sean Taylor, our associate producers, Shane Farner and Danielle Gilday, to our video director, Jim Javinsky, our writer-researchers, Andrew Campbell and Nate Sweet, to Alva Goldbook for video production, to our webmasters, Nigel Peacock and Jamie Holly, our business manager, Ron Hartenbaum, all of the companies that syndicate our program, Westwood One, Pacifica Radio, Sirius, XM Satellite Radio, Cable Radio Network, Free Speech TV on Dish Network, DirecTV, all the cable providers who carry our show independently, Comcast, Manhattan Neighborhood Networks, and the others around the country, the great folks at Free Speech TV and RTTV who work on the big picture, to the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn, to our newsletter editor, Sue Nethercutt, the folks in our chat room, to Ellen Ratner, Victoria Jones, Bob Ney, and everyone at the Talk Radio News Service, Jay Tamboli for our tech support, to our affiliates, our sponsors, and to you for supporting our program. Thank you, and a special thanks to Senator Bernie Sanders for being on this program all these years. Bernie, thanks so much.
Well, Tom, and let me just wish you and all of the listeners a very, very happy holiday season.
Thank you. Very, very kind of you. So let's get back to the phone lines, okay?
Okay.
All righty. Let's see. Tom in Kalkaska, Michigan. I've been to Kalkaska. Hey, Tom, you're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Senator, I'd like to know how we could change the free trade into a fair trade, and I think that would help a whole lot.
Tom, thanks very much for that question, and I think you're exactly right. The American people, from both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, Republican and Democratic presidents, have been, in my view, been given a bill of goods, just a whole lot of false information about trade policies. And as many listeners understand, that trade agreements like NAFTA and CAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China and other trade agreements was strongly supported by corporate America and all of the big money interests. And their reasoning for that is not hard to understand. Why would you want to pay an American worker $15 or $20 an hour, have to negotiate with unions, have to pay your fair share of taxes, have to protect the environment, when you could go to China and go to other countries and pay people, pennies an hour, not have to deal with unions and so forth and so on. And that's what they did. So we had these unfettered free trade agreements, which resulted in the shutdown of many, many factories throughout this country, the loss of probably millions of decent-paying jobs. Companies go abroad, and then they bring their products back into this country. So the result is, you go to a store now, go to a department store, people are doing a lot of shopping now, Christmas time. Look at where the products come from. I was just in a shop the other day with my wife doing some Christmas shopping for our grandchildren, and we were looking at some Disney stuffed animals. And, Tom, you know where they were made? I thought, well, they're probably going to be made in China. No, they're made in Vietnam.
No, it's cheaper.
Cheaper in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And when it gets, too expensive in Vietnam, they'll probably move to North Korea. So that's the pattern. And I think Tom asked the caller asked the right question. And what we need is a trade policy that protects American workers and not just corporate interest. And that means, you cannot simply shut down in America, move abroad, and then think you're going to bring your products back to this country tariff-free. Demands have got to be made on corporate America to reinvest in this country and create the kinds of jobs that we desperately need.
Dwayne in Petaluma, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, Tom and Bernie. Coming up on the 100th anniversary of the Fed, I was, and considering that both from the left and the right, there appears to be demonstrations coming on Monday on the Fed. What solutions would you advise on from the left for fixing the Federal Reserve so that it gives the money to the people instead of big corporations, that it gives the money to maintain their houses to those who were caught in this trap, instead of giving it to speculators to buy up those houses? What can be done?
Well, this is an issue my office has been heavily involved in, and I'm proud to say that during the Dodd-Frank legislation, we got the first ever audit of the Fed, and that was during the financial crisis. And that audit was really unbelievably revelatory in the sense that we learned, and would not have learned if we hadn't passed that amendment, that the Fed lent out during that crisis $16 trillion in a revolving loan approach to every major financial institution in this country and central banks all over the world, as well as many many corporations in America, and including wealthy individuals. So there's a lot to be learned. This is what I do think. I think short term, we have legislation in that actually I thought may have actually come up last night. We want to get it up. It's a modest reform of the Fed. Right now, the Board of Governors of the Fed, Federal Reserve, are appointed by the President with the approval of the Senate. What I want to see is in terms of the regional Feds, which right now have 9 members, 6 of which, whether it's the New York Fed or the Kansas City Fed or whatever it may be, they come from the banking community. 3 are bankers themselves, and 3 are appointed by bankers. So 6 out of 9 come from the banking community. We want to change that, get bankers off of the Fed, have people who sit on the regional Feds come from the communities, from unions, from environmental groups, rather than be dominated by the banking interest. That's a short-term approach. Longer-term, obviously, we have to change the priorities of the Fed. And the Fed has got to focus on creating jobs in this country. In my view, the Fed has got to end the usury which now exists in these banks that are charging people 20, 25% interest rates on their credit cards. That's a very important mission. And as the caller indicated, the Fed has got to help us get money out to small businesses, get money out into the communities to help us create jobs. So the goal of, as the caller indicated, is to have the Fed work for ordinary people rather than just Wall Street.
So Senator Sanders, Bernie, thanks so much for being with us, and Happy New Year.
And to you as well.
And happy holidays to you. Thank you.